Hello and welcome to the Cabin Boynton's Woolcast. I'm Christopher.
And I'm Jamie. This is a special edition of our Canadian interview series.
I cannot wait for this interview. I have been wanting to interview Brendan and Tara of the Gaynor Homestead for a long time now. They have some fantastic sheep, some of our favorite. And we have been told that you can't raise this breed of sheep in Ontario, and they're defying the odds. So sit back, grab your favorite drink, and they're going to tell you their story. Welcome. We are super excited to have our second interview in the Canadian interview series, and we are here with the Gaynor Homestead. And just wanted to have the two of you introduce yourself.
So I'm Tara, and I am the co-owner of the Gaynor Homestead with
Brendan.
And we run a sheep farm here in Dorchester, Ontario. So we're southwestern Ontario, 10 minutes east of London.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So one of the questions I was dying to ask you is, how did you get into this? How did you get into farming? Were you born into it, or?
No. No, this was a happy accident. We kind of fell into farming. So I think that the first thing that anybody ever gets is chickens. So we had a little house in a little town, and we had gone to IKEA actually. And while driving to IKEA, we saw somebody with a backyard chicken coop, and Brendan was like, we need to get chickens. And by the time I got home, he was not building my IKEA furniture. He was taping out a chicken coop plan on my living room floor. And so we ended up getting some chickens, and then we just kind of got bitten by the homesteading bug with those 6 chickens. And we were like, we need more space. And so we bought our first hobby farm.
Oh, that's fantastic. We're going down the chicken road right now, so I'm interested
about
it. Well, we're going to get some. And so I was, what kind of chickens did you get?
I think to start off with, we had 6.
Yeah.
But we ended up with 3 roosters, so we didn't do it very well. So we ended up having some really angry neighbors.
Yeah.
And we had to get rid of the 3 roosters because they were particularly noisy.
Yeah, there was a poor woman that was next to us that was working nights, and then my rooster would wake her up
every morning.
Yeah. It was tough. Yeah, she was polite, but yeah, I'm sure she was annoyed.
But rightfully annoyed, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So what's on your farm now?
What's on our farm now? So we have, how many sheep do we have now? Like 40-something sheep right now?
40 here, and then at the other farm, there's about 40.
About 40. So 80-something sheep.
The lambs kind of make it go like this.
Yes.
So
Yeah. So we have that. We have, right now we have 8 pigs. So we have 2 potbelly pigs, Charlotte and Peppa. They're just pets. Kind of the worst pets ever, but we love them anyway. Yeah. And then we have 6 meat pigs. And then we have, so I have 2 horses, but we board another 3 here. So we have horses. We have 200 chickens right now. We have 100 egg layers and then 100 meat birds. And then we have the beehives.
Yeah.
What, am I missing anything?
Just cats and dogs.
Cats and dogs. Yeah. So all those kinds of things, but.
And kids.
It's a busy farm.
And kids, yes.
Yes, we have 4 kids.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they're currently doing online learning right now. So if we get a little gurgly or the bandwidth drops, that's why.
It's probably Fortnite.
Yeah.
Or they're playing games and you think they're attending school.
Yes.
Exactly.
There's a lot of that.
There's a lot of that.
So how do you get any sleep?
We don't really, like, if we're really honest, we're in bed by midnight and up by 6:30. I think it's probably a good night's sleep for us. So yeah, not a ton of sleep, but we've gotten used to it. We haven't.
Yeah, you know what? There's just busy times of the year. And so we sort of just psych ourselves out that, okay, yes, this is insane right now, but it's just a crunch time. And we do have lulls and yeah,
Yeah.
like right now it's crazy. But in the middle of the summer, it'll calm down. And
this is our first year doing a market garden. So we're doing 4,000 heads of lettuce this year. So that's been a big endeavor, but we're excited and it's coming up. It's working so far. We haven't killed anything. So knock on wood, we're going to make it.
Yeah.
And what kind of lettuce?
We've got a brie called Stella Nova. And that's kind of the main one, but then we have some spinach and kale and all kinds of stuff with that, and tomatoes and peppers, cucumbers,
yeah. Like I've never really been that successful growing things, which is hilarious because I've been growing stuff my whole life. Yeah. But we ran a farm gate store last year in response to COVID. We put a lot of effort into it. And one of the things that we realized is that we have a lot of stuff to bring to, say, a wool show, which is incidental and a couple times a year. But we didn't have enough inventory to really keep the shelves full in the farm gate store. So we would have people come out and they would look around and it would look like we were like, it was just bare shelves. It wasn't good. Yep. So the inventory we had didn't last long. And so this year we've realized, okay, we have to do a big push. We need full shelves. We need lots of stuff for people to choose from. And the market garden is a big part of that. So we're trying to grow, lots of fruit and veg. That's keeping me very busy.
Yes.
Yeah, that could be a really lucrative business because we go to a neighboring farm just over there, 1 or 2 roads over, and they have a lot of produce. And every time we go, there are people there every time because people want local, they want fresh, good vegetables, and
they're sold out most of the time.
Oh yeah, we go often, and oh my gosh, they're fingerling potatoes. We have some of our favorites, which are beyond. And I have to say, like, we've gone to another local one just a little that way, not so good at all. And
see, I'm worried about that. I'm worried I'm going to be that guy.
Oh, you're not going to be that guy. It sounds like you got stuff growing. They didn't have, they had stuff that was, it should have been, I took it home, and then when I opened it, I was like, it was not fresh. And it's like, well, because I want fresh. But you know what? You do it well, and you have some good produce, and the people will come and continue to come from far and wide. They have it right on.
We're hoping.
You're going to do it. I have faith. So before we get into sheep talk, I have a question about how do you just but start having bees or honey? Like how do you learn how to be a beekeeper, and how does that work?
So we had a 4-acre farm before we were moving to where we're at now. And the one restriction we had on farming there was nutritional units. So the municipality only allows you to have so many livestock per acre of property. So we really wanted to be farmers, and we really wanted to get to that, to become a legal farmer. It's $7,000 a year, $7,500 a year is what you have to make.
Yeah, like in Ontario, you're classified as a farmer when you get a farm number, and to work that back, to get a farm number, you have to generate so much revenue. And this became, with the moment we realized this, it became a goal. It's like, we must do this. We must get the farm number. But we couldn't figure out how to do it on our little postage stamp farm. With
the nutritional unit limitations.
Yeah,
so the bees, and there's no nutritional units allocated to them. You can have as many bees as you want, still consider it a farm income. And then you don't have to use any nutritional units. So we could have as many beehives as we could fit on the property.
Oh, great.
So that was kind of the thought process behind it. Plus, it's really cool to have bees. Like, it was something that I always thought was kind of interesting. So the OBA puts out workshops every once in a while. I don't know if they're doing it because of COVID, but they normally do have beekeeping workshops. And Brennan went to one and learned the basics, and we're still learning every day. Bees is something that you are constantly learning and adapting to. But it's been one of the greatest parts of having a hobby farm is the bees. We really enjoy them. And it's like, the honey is one thing, but the beeswax and all the stuff that comes from that too, the byproducts of having a beehive, are fabulous. And it's been something that we fell into, but we really love.
Yes, because you have soaps and lip balm.
Soaps and lip balms and the chest rub. And we do a beard wax now. Like we have
I don't know why I'm getting excited.
I'm excited.
Okay, that's cool.
So,
but like you say, there's all the byproducts, which is fantastic. And I mean,
and
I'm
they're
not
healthy and it's nice.
Yeah. And I mean, I love honey. And honey, one good thing, and this is just theory, but you've heard this before, because honey, if you're from let's say you're right from the immediate area and you buy honey, I've always had very severe just environmental allergies, like really bad. And I went for shots for like 3 years. But I didn't equate it till later when someone was telling me about becoming immune to some of the, let's say, wild, like through the pollination and through the honey, the local flowers or the local whatever you might be allergic to, it's built up my immune system, that my allergies for the last 10 years have been minimal. And I think it's because I've been eating, I have honey in my tea every morning, and I'll have it on other things, but honey for the last like 20 years. And I think that has built up my immune system.
I've heard that before too.
Yeah. And I truly believe it, because there's no other explanation as to why they've been so minimal over the years. And I always buy local honeys, and I've had yours. Yeah. So I have no allergies when I visit your area.
There you go.
Yeah, good.
So why did you choose Rambouillet sheep? That's the sheep you have. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, so the Rambouillet sheep was a choice that I kind of pushed on Brendan, but I had come up with, I went through a lot of different breeds. I looked at the Cotswolds, I looked at the Corriedales, I looked at the Jacob sheep, but their horns freaked me out. I looked at all of them, and we really wanted a dual purpose breed. Sure. Brendan and I are animal husbandry people, but I am not a great knitter. I can do squares, I can do like color work, but I'm not great. I can knit and I can purl, and that's about it. And don't ask me to do a sweater, because that's really complicated. So we wanted something that was going to be a really good high quality wool, but if it didn't work out, we still had like a meat product that was going to still be there at the end of the day. So the Rambouillet was this really high quality wool, but it was still a dual purpose breed. So that's kind of what draws to them. So that was what we decided, but we had never seen one in real life, only in pictures online. And we searched and searched in Ontario for somebody who had them, and nobody had them. Right. And so deciding on a breed is one thing, but getting them here is a whole other. So we ended up having to import them from Alberta, sight unseen, from a Hutterite community out there, the Wilson colony. And we had to schedule all our phone calls with them because they don't have a phone. And so it had to be like, they had to be at the telephone in town at a certain time. And but we managed to get them, and they were very sweet with us. And so we've been really lucky with them. But I remember when they showed up that first day, we had never seen them in real life. We had this like image in our head of these small like Shetland sheep, because that's what kind of everybody has. And then they got them off the truck, and we were like, they're a few inches shorter than our pony. Yeah, they're massive. They're big. Yeah. Our ram is about 300 pounds. So like, just to kind of give you an idea of size, like they're big sheep. And so we were kind of looking at them, and they were looking at us, and neither of us knew what to do. It's
that moment where like I opened the gate to because the shipper had dropped them off in a middle point, like a sales barn where we had to pick them up. And I remember opening the gate and just having these faces look back at me, and it's that moment of, what have I done?
What have we done?
Oh my God. It's real now. There's no turning back now.
We had goats before the sheep. Yeah. And everybody's like, do you guys have goats? And I am always quick to say, no, we don't have goats. We did. They're kind of like having toddlers with daggers strapped to their heads. Oh my God. And so we can't keep having them. There's no fence that will contain goats at all. So we had them for a while, but they were coming with me to get the kids off the bus. They were laying on our patio furniture and at the front door, watching us have dinner every night. So they became like destructive. So that was kind of the switch from goats to sheep. And it's been a great decision. But then
we never looked back. The sheep was the first like big push for us into like dipping our toes into a business. versus just we have some animals in the backyard. That was the first real commitment. The bees, we, pawned off honey on friends and family. And that started to grow, but the sheep was the first big, whoa,
like we have a product that we take out and sell.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there's a perception in Ontario that you can't raise merinos or Rambouillet. And so what do you say to all that? I mean, you're proving that that's not true.
It's not true. We've had them for 7 years. They're healthy. They're thriving. They're happy. We get quality fleeces off of them. So it's not like true. I think that if there was anything to be said that would be maybe true is that the breeding lines are really hard to keep going when you've imported from another province and there's not a lot of farms having them. Yeah. So it's a hard breed to keep up if you want to have diversity in your lines. We have 3 distinct lines here right now. So we're able to kind of keep up with it and we're fine for next little while anyways, genetically speaking. But there definitely was a struggle to figure that part out. And I don't know if maybe they got a bad rap because of that.
Yeah, I think the textile industry sort of disappeared in our area. And so when you don't have that, if you're choosing a breed of sheep as a production farmer, you're not looking at the Rambouillet or the Merino because the wool perk isn't really worth anything to you. You're looking for an animal that produces the most meat per pound of input or feed or whatever. And that's not the Rambouillet. I think the Rambouillet is a really fantastic fiber producer, a good meat producer, but maybe not a great one. So it doesn't surprise me that when you go to sheep farms in Ontario, you're not seeing this breed come up just because over time, as textile industry sort of disappeared, on a commercial scale, the breed sort of disappeared. So, yeah, I think that sort of
played an effect.
Yeah, cycles back on itself.
Yeah. Also, I know, with the Rambouillet, I know that you mentioned you got them from Alberta because they are like a range sheep. And I know you already know this, is that, it's roughly 50% of sheep bloodline in the Western U.S. is Rambouillet, descent of a Rambouillet. And we talk about the different breeds and it's, we talk about it so much because, well, you're lucky enough to have Rambouillet, and I'm a big fan because of the French connection. But,
I'm a big fan because of the feel of it. Yeah, your yarn's
and that's just it. Merino. Everybody loves Merino. Everyone knows Merino. And we try to educate a little more about some of the other brands that are, so many of them are all, they have some Rambouillet, which is the Merino, in them. And so that's why we try to educate people that, you could have super soft yarns. They all have, so many of them have Merino because it's almost like the granddaddy of soft wools. It's so many breeds. And the Rambouillet, I know with yourself, descendant of the French Merino, which because of the Merino softness, and then the French going back to 1786, where they blended them with the, they breeded them with the English long wool to get that longer staple as well. So I know that on your farm with your Rambouillet and per sheep, you're getting a really great fleece and a very good amount as well. Correct?
We do. The fleeces kind of go all over the place. So our Ram's fleece can be over 10 pounds in the grease. It's a pretty hefty, heavy fleece to take over, and the ewes are between 5 and 10 pounds. So usually around like 7-8 pounds in the grease. So yeah, it's a good amount to get off.
Yeah, and we spend a lot of time focused on the wool, the whole way through. So it's not a byproduct for us; it is the product, and that changes everything. It changes what you feed them, how you feed them, whether you let them outside today, everything.
Lambing season.
Yeah, when you're lambing or when you're breeding them, it's the whole way through. We're making little decisions that impact that wool at the end.
Exactly. And isn't it almost that time of the year coming up?
Yeah. Shearing? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Yes. We're going to be shearing,
May 5th.
Yeah, first week of May. So it's coming up really soon. I don't know if we're ready. It's going to be intense. This will be the most we've ever shorn. And then we're getting to a point where we're having to, like the flock is getting big enough that we're starting to have like bigger farm problems, but we're not a big farm. So it's a bit of a challenge to, figure out how do we move 40 sheep through this? Like, I don't have a handling system yet. And it's messy. So there's a lot of stuff that's jerry rigged. There's a lot of like baler twine holding our gates together and stuff. There's a lot of that going on. It's going to be an intense week, shearing and then washing starts.
And then washing it. Yeah. The most washing ever.
It's a big production. Yeah.
Is it difficult to find a shearer?
Well, we had a really awesome shearer for a really long time, and she, like, our sheep were big. So she was this like smaller framed girl, and she was so sweet, and she came out and she did it for a couple of years. And then one day she sheared them all in one day, and it's a long day and it's a hard job. And she's like, I'm pregnant, so I'm not going to come back anymore.
Yeah, she told us at the end of the day, after she had shorn all the sheep, she's like, oh yeah, no, I'm expecting. And I was like, what? We wouldn't have let you do this.
No, she was like, if she was wrestling our 300-pound ram, like pregnant. And I'm like, oh no, like, but she had like her big coat on and stuff. And I was like, oh, like we would have been doing a lot more. So she, I don't want to say fired us, but moved on.
Yeah, she fired us.
She fired us.
She politely, she Canadian fired us. She's very polite. And
she was like, if you guys need references for different shears next year, you let me know. So she was very sweet, but she was just like, Rambouillet are too big. Like, she's just like, they're too large of a breed of sheep for her to do. So we found a new guy. I want to say his name is it Dan? Don
Metherall. He's the real deal. If you ever want to Google Don, it's quite an adventure. He does competitions. He takes shearing very seriously. He travels all over Ontario. It is cool to talk to a shearer that is that much into shearing. He's really into it. So yeah, look up Don Metherall.
He was on the Canadian shearing team, like a competition team for a while. So he's like a pretty.
So he's the real deal.
He's the real deal. He's gone over to like Australia and New Zealand for competitions. He's a nice guy, great guy.
And he shows up with the team, and they kind of just tell us to get out of the way, and we try to. And they get it done for us as much as they can. I just skirt and try to stay out of the way.
I think Don appreciates too that we're really into the wool. A lot of shearers that travel are just, they see it as, it's like a farrier with horseshoes or something, where it's something that needs to be done. It's very utilitarian. But Don appreciates that we really care about the fiber, and we appreciate his skills.
Yeah, he's the one that we're like, don't feel like you need to go fast, go as slow as you want to go, so that we get the most staple length and the least amount of second cuts and all that stuff. And he appreciates that we're there for the wool.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about when you say that, like, what is the process for producing good wool? Like what qualities, like what do you have to do feeding wise and pasture wise and all of that stuff? Like, what goes into that?
Well, how much time do we have? I could talk all day about that. And I'm still learning a lot. I think every year our fiber gets better, and we take a lot of feedback from the mill. Sometimes it's grumpy, sometimes it's happy. For us, it's about making sure that they have minerals. So if you think about what the fiber is, you need minerals to grow hair. So we put a lot of effort into making sure that they're getting the right balance of minerals, lots of protein. We watch what we're feeding them in terms of like, what would you call it? Like chaff. So we're very aware of anything that's like dusty or has little bits in it. If we feed them hay, we make sure it's on the ground or that it's low. We're trying not to throw, fibrous feeds over their backs,
that's a big no-go in our farm. Like, you don't throw hay to the sheep. It gets placed down, and then they lower themselves to the hay, not having it above their heads where
they're And then we try to graze them on pasture a lot. That's something that is easy to say but tough to do in Canada. There's snow on the ground for half the year. And for us, it's about establishing that pasture. So, planting grass and rotationally grazing. There's a lot of effort that goes into that. So that you're not having to feed them hay and they're getting good quality forage. But again, they're not getting like chaff or vegetable matter from hay in the fiber. And so, the big thing is keeping it clean. And then just last year, we've made pretty significant investments into jackets and coats. So we actually put like a physical coat, sort of like a windbreaker, I guess. It's not really a coat, but on their backs to keep the fiber clean. And we're very excited to send that stuff to the mill because this will be the first harvest where we've had that. And then again, just
lambing season.
Yeah, when we lamb. So one of the big feedback points we got from our mill was the strength of the fiber. So it's one thing if you have good minerals all the way through and good feed and low VM. But if you have stress, so a stress on the sheep, like when they're lambing, can create a weak point in the fiber that when you're running it through a machine, it'll just snap. And so we try to, if we have to induce a stress point like lambing, we try to do it either at the beginning of growth or at the end of growth, so that weak point is not smack dab in the middle of the fiber. And then just generally keeping them happy. So, lambing stress is unavoidable, but we're trying to keep them as low stress as possible.
I think the other thing is we keep them outside. So they have a barn that they can go into. But just like a dog with a winter coat, it gets heavier if they're outside in colder climates. Sheep are exactly the same thing. So if we leave our sheep out, and they're range sheep, they prefer to be outside. They have a barn, but they never go in it. They just lay in the snow, and that's how they're happiest. But allowing them to do that, it makes them grow a bigger fleece the whole time. It's just a more dense coat that we get on them. So that helps too.
That's so incredible how I'm just so surprised by, the details of like you said, with the stress factor of lambing mid-season of the growth season, that physically that staple length will have that weakness in that period. Something people don't, this is the thing, what people don't appreciate. They just, they go to the road and go, oh, squish, squish. Oh my gosh, this is so gorgeous and soft, right? Oh, let me take that. But who would think that all of these factors to just produce a wonderful wool as you do, and taking that into mind, because I'm thinking, okay, if you're going to buy your yarn from, we won't mention any countries, but somewhere far away, third world, seriously, do you think their sheep are out on the pasture and eating these good things and the minerals and the strength and all of that you take into consideration, especially the stress factors? Who would know that? You wouldn't, right?
No, it's something that for us, we've had to learn the hard way. So it's taken us years of trial and error and getting feedback from the mill to learn, oh, we better not do that again. It's like our kids, right? You learn as you go, and you make some mistakes along the way, but every season gets a little bit better and a little bit better. And we've been targeting, how do we make better wool every season, and making these incremental changes. I think
it's a difference between seeing yarn and seeing wool. So we see it all as wool.
Yes.
And that they're animals with 4 legs. And like, it's funny, I always see people and they're like holding up to their face and rubbing it. And I'm like, if you saw that 4 months ago, you wouldn't be putting it on your face. Like, it's something that you're comfortable doing today. But we see it when it was 4 months ago and I had 4 legs. And so there's just a difference between seeing wool and seeing yarn. And there's just, it's a different mindset to go into it. Yeah.
Now, what about the milling process? I know that's challenging for a lot of people in Ontario. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so our wool is more fine than probably the average sheep farmer in Ontario. Absolutely. And so sadly, they don't have the equipment here in Ontario to process it. And I don't blame them for not having it. We're up until last year, we were the only Rambouillet farm in Ontario. So why would they have a industrial combing machine that would do our fibers? It's not economic for them to go and buy this machinery if they don't need it.
Yeah.
So, getting our yarn processed or wool processed here in Ontario has been a bit of a trek. The first year we went to a bunch of different fiber mills trying to get it done, and nobody could do it. It was coming back to us just kind of all pilled and oiled and kind of a big mess. And we were really discouraged. We were like, we thought we had this like great breed of sheep, and how do we get this turned into something? And we want to make sure that people are happy with the end product and its quality. So we ended up finding a mill in Michigan, and she had an industrial combing machine. And so she was able to process it for us there. We continue to explore Canadian mills. If they say that they can do it, we'll send them a test batch and try to get it done. Yep. But unfortunately, we haven't gotten anything back that, is the same as the Michigan mill. Yeah. That being said, this year was a bit of a difficult year with the mill because they also got shut down due to COVID for a period of time.
Yes.
So their processing timelines became exaggerated and longer than.
I know a lot of dyers in Quebec are sending all of their stuff to the U.S. because and farmers because there's just there aren't a lot of mills around. So this is what people don't.
No, there aren't. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say this is what people don't realize, that mills. This is definitely. I mean, there's a resurgence now, but when you think of the turn of the century and throughout the 30s and 40s, 50s till synthetic fibers came along, like there were woolen mills everywhere. I mean, it was an entire industry, warehouses and buildings in every town and city around the world, and here in North America and Canada, same thing. So as anyone who has sheep and wants their fleece, the fleece processed, it's a challenge for across the country, isn't it?
It's really hard. We've been doing the trip to and from Michigan, and in some ways it's more local than going to like PEI or some of the other provinces.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So we've been going back and forth to Michigan to do it, and it's worked out for us, but I wish there was a Canadian or Ontario option for us. Like it would be nicer to keep it here, but
it's a lot less hassle. I mean, for us to get our wool across the border is quite an ordeal. The USDA has regulations, just as Canadian Border Services does, on any agricultural goods going back and forth. And so for us, every year we have to wash all of our wool before we send it to the mill. And that's not normal. Usually a farmer just sends the raw fleece to the mill and they look after it. But for us, it has to be clean before it crosses the border, just for biosecurity.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that's becoming a real production. We
get stopped every time at the border. We have to go and sit in the little building and wait for them to go and check our fleeces to make sure that they're clean and safe to take across. So
we run into, it's funny because it's that same thing where we're not a big commercial outfit. We're a small farm. So we get in line with everybody else going over to Windsor and Port Huron to go shopping.
Yeah.
Or we started going to Detroit, and here we are with our minivan full of wool, packed to the brim, and we pull in. We always get stopped. We pull into the customs station, and we get a lot of side eyes and raised eyebrows.
Oh, sure.
And what are these guys doing?
Because the ag specialist comes in, he comes in to inspect it, and he's like, "Who's the people with the giant van full of wool?" And we're like, "That's us." So then we have
everybody
to
just everybody looks at us.
It's a bit odd, but we do it every year. Then the first couple years, they were like, "What are you gonna?" We didn't want to pay duty on it coming back, and so they were like, "What are you going to do with all of this yarn?" And we had 150 pounds of yarn behind us, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna knit it." I'm gonna knit it, and they're like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm an avid knitter." If they had asked me to actually do anything with it,
a lot of sweaters and a lot of blankets. I'm gonna knit blankets.
Yeah, lots of blankets, lots of sweaters. Yeah. So no, and we try to get away, but we don't do that anymore. We have to pay duty on it on the back, the way back every year.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of sad because when you think about the mill industry in Ontario, I mean, it used to be we used to have so many mills here, and they've just hopefully there's a research. I know that a new mill popped up a little while ago, so hopefully more are going to start. And I know a lot of or some farms now are looking at micro mills and trying to do processing themselves. So it'll be interesting to see how it progresses.
The machine that we really want is the industrial comber. That's the big machine that kind of changes it from carding. The carding machine is great, but for us, we need the combing machine.
Yeah, we need the fibers to be like ultra parallel, and that requires a combing process so that we don't get little noilies coming off of it.
Right.
And so a worsted process is ideal for us, but we can do woolen as long as it's combed first.
Sure.
So I've toyed with the idea of, sending it for combing and then sending it domestically, like for woolen processing. I've looked into doing stuff like that. It's just, we're trying not to make the world's most expensive yarn, so it's a challenge, right? You want to try to keep that cost.
Yeah, that's another issue.
Reasonable.
Wow.
And it's also a time frame thing. Like for us, the Kitchener-Waterloo knitting show is always the first one of the season, and we always get our yarn back about 24 hours before. So if we were to try to switch mills in between, it would be probably disastrous. So we're always, that night we don't sleep, we just stay up all night and just label and
If you see us at a wool show, we're likely very tired because we've probably been up till 2 a.m. Like,
that's
printing.
what it was. We were talking to you, just sort of like,
just sort of dead-eyed.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
No,
we were in the
usually
booth beside you. I was like, what is wrong with those two? No.
We're exhausted because we have it's always the first week of school, so the kids just go back to school that week, and then it's always we're getting the yarn back the same time, and then it's always and then he'll be like, be creative and come up with names for all of these colors, and it's like 2 a.m, and I'm like, I can't be creative right now. So it always starts out with we're starting out, we're like Sleepy Sheepdog, and we have all these great names, and then by the end of it I'm like, Navy. It's Navy, and it's gonna stay Navy.
Yeah. Do the kids help out? Are they old enough to help out yet?
They're old enough, but if that doesn't mean they do it. Our oldest is 18, and he's good about some things. Bless his heart, we adopted him a few years ago, and they were like, he really likes to be on the farm, and we were like, okay, so we met him, and I'm like, so I heard you really like being on the farm, and he's like, I picked up an egg once and they won't stop talking about it. And so he said that he's not into it, but he's come along and he's doing really well, and he's quite a bit now, so he's a big help.
And this is the thing, I mean, there's so much effort, work, details, so many factors just to produce the fine wool yarn that you sell, and that people just it's mind-boggling what people don't know. So you've got to love what you do. You've got to love it to be doing what you're doing.
We do. You've got to do it when you're sick. You got to do it when on Christmas Day, on Christmas Eve, when everybody else is kind of doing their own thing. Vacations become almost impossible. So you really have to love it and have it be kind of your sanctuary. And that's definitely what this is for us. We wouldn't want to do something else. So
in my day job, I'm a programmer, and of course with COVID we're working from home, and I'm coding at my laptop, and I'm glancing out the window and seeing the sheep in the paddock, and I'd rather be out there.
Sure.
It's definitely something that even after years of doing this, we still love it a lot. Absolutely.
So you're responsible for your website?
Yeah, I am. All the tech stuff kind of falls to me for sure. Yeah,
great job. It's really nice.
Thank you.
And the reason, when I first brought up that I know that we know that it's, that time of the year for shearing, is because I thought maybe this would be a good time to talk about Lisa.
Lisa Fleece. Yeah.
I know you're going to go. He's talking to me about Lisa Fleece this morning. I'm like, and I just heard Lisa, and I'm like, who's Lisa? And he's like, what's Lisa got to do with it?
And then you said that you said that was going to be a great drag name, Lisa Fleece.
And then I said, I'm going to ask them about Lisa. So yes, Lisa Fleece.
Lisa Fleece, yes. So that's been a pet project of mine that I wanted to do for the last couple of years. I find that people really like to have that connection to the animal, and we want that. We want people to feel like they're part of our farm. And I grew up in the city, and getting access to a farm like this was not really ever a possibility. Yeah. So we're always really excited to share our place and to have people out and have them feel like they're a part of the process, because they are. And, we do a lot of what we do for them. So we're thinking about the people who are going to be making the sweaters and all that stuff. So when we're out there and it's cold and we don't want to be out there. So allowing them to feel like they're even more part of the process was something that I've always wanted to do. So we did the Lisa Fleece program. So the flock that we have coated right now is at a neighboring property. And that's because it helps keep them clean and all that other stuff too. Yeah. But they're all wearing their multicolored coats. They look awesome. It's kind of like this hilarious cartoon, crayon flock. They look like they're a bunch of Crayolas out there. And I really love that kind of aspect of it. It's really fun to see them out there. Their fleeces are looking fantastic. It allows people to kind of pick their fleece ahead of time, and then it gets sheared off. And, we were hoping to have everybody out for shearing day. With COVID, I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. Not probably all at the same time, but we will have everybody out to pick up their fleece and see the sheep and that kind of stuff. And I think that'll be really awesome to have people just be a part of that process even more than normal.
Well, we're really excited about it.
Yeah, for sure.
We're like, how could we make our way down there before before the shearing or before and after, just to see them before and after? But I don't think that's going to happen.
There's pictures. You guys have pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get you some updates and some new media so you can sort of see a before and after. It'll be hilarious. The coats, I'm so excited. I can't describe how excited I am to have a coated flock. Yes. This has been a goal of ours for years. We're not completely coated, but we're getting close. The difference in the fiber is ridiculous.
Wow.
This will hands down be the best fiber I think we've ever produced.
Oh, that's exciting.
I just hope we have wool shows this fall to sell it at.
Yeah.
Show it on that.
Yeah. And you won't get any grumpy feedback from those mill people, right?
No, I'm hoping not.
Yeah. And then when you mentioned people, people do love. We love that. When you even just when you buy yarn at any given show and you read and you see, it comes from Suzette and Lisa and the name of the sheep. But with this program, 2021, you've got to be innovative and come up with these great ideas. And I think this is one of them.
Yeah,
and
fantastic.
People love that. They see that what sheep it came from, but to actually be able to, adopt that sheep and then have that fleece come to you. And then you're saying you grab that fleece. It's that's my little Olive. That's my little Nellie. Right? Because you're thinking the same thing. It's you're looking at that fleece that's Suzette, that they have there in their hand. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
We couldn't get the names of our adopted, sheep
I got
children.
One of them wrong. I noticed.
I know, and we're like, well, I'm thinking, is it just like children though? Because
I think I was too excited about the whole program that I got one of the names wrong.
But I'm thinking, when you have people who do have, children that they have several. Because I've grown up with 5. The parents are always mixing them up. They're always going Peter, Paul, Jim, or in this case, your place. Who do we have? Olive, Nellie. Jill, and we're like, is it Eve or Sue? And I'm like,
it's hard to come up with names. The lambs are getting bored, and we're running out of names, and they have to fit on tags. So we're limited on how many letters they can be too. So
we try to keep them short.
We try to keep them short and sweet, and it's hard to come up with that many names. We're at we're at almost 80 sheep now. That's 80 names that we've had to come up with, and
Yes.
that are short. And so the first year we had, I let the kids name him, and we had all My Little Pony names for the ewes, and all of the males, all the rams got superhero names. So we had like Batman and Superman and Spider-Man.
Yeah, I didn't like those too much.
No, they weren't great. Yeah. But we sold Batman at one point, and then they ended up selling him back to us. And it's like, it's the return of Batman because he's back.
And she called him Bruce, which I think was a better name.
Better name.
Batman.
Yeah, Bruce name. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, but he left us Batman and he came back. So, yeah.
I wanted to ask you about karma, good karma. So on your website, I saw
Yes.
that you mentioned good karma. What is that all about?
A mantra that we follow with every venture that we're in is to keep the karma good. And in a nutshell, that means, keep it honest, keep it simple. Don't oversell it. Don't put in emotional pricing. Just keep it good and simple. And so we try to do that with everything. And being, an animal husbandry focused farm, at least that's where we started. We knew that anything that we were selling needed to be, raised free range, in the sunshine, well taken care of.
Sure.
And so that's sort of the idea is, we want to sell things that we're proud of. And we also, we want to just,
we stand by how we raise the animals. We try to get them to have sun on their back every day, and they're all well taken care of, and we treat them as we would want our meat to be treated. And anything that we're raising, we are proud of how it's done, and we want to make sure that we would welcome people to come see how they're raised every day. There's no corner of our farm that people are not allowed to go to. And that's kind of our answer to that, is that yes, we raise meat, but it's all ethical raising of it as best as we possibly can. And we love our animals, and they have names, and we get attached to them. And that's not on them. Like, we allow ourselves to get attached to our animals because the fact that we love them is on us, and that's not on them. And they deserve to have that love when they're here. So they get belly rubs and scratches and affection just like they would a dog. And we try to do our best to give them the best life possible.
That sounds fantastic.
And the good karma is you get what you put into it, and in return you get this wonderful fleece and this wonderful meat and these multitude of eggs, and and it's all good karma.
And it's all good. They're happy. Yeah.
I think for us, a big thing is just what this year looks like for us. So with COVID restrictions, the chance for people to see us and talk wool is usually at a wool show, if it's not online.
Sure.
And so this year, we're putting big efforts into our farm gate store. So we encourage, within restrictions, people to come out, come see us, come see the farm, come check out the store. We're going to have full shelves of yarn and fleeces and all kinds of goodies. You can come out, you can see the sheep, we can try to do that safely.
It's an open air store, so the store is open to outside. So it's actually kind of like being outside. You don't have to worry about inside restrictions. So it has a big garage door. We open it right up, and it's an open air store.
And it's also sounding it's sounding very exciting, other than, the COVID factor. It sounds like you're going to have all this produce. You're going to have the best wool that you've had yet, because of the coats of many colors. It's all very exciting. Really, it is exciting. Hopeful. Yeah, if that other little thing could just go away and everything gets, come together, it would be just sounds like you could have the potential to have a very good year.
We're hoping.
This is the first year we're going to have lamb and chicken and pork available in the store.
Awesome.
The whole time, which is nice too. And then we have the 100 egg layers. So last year people were showing up before the store opened to try to get their weekly flat of eggs. So this year we just ramped up the egg production dramatically. So now hopefully we'll be able to meet the neighborhood's needs on eggs. And
Well, that's a good position to be in.
Yeah.
Yes. Except then they showed up and we're in our pajamas and making
I was going to say, it's easy for me.
It's and that was the big thing is this year we're just trying to be ready for that. COVID really, as it did with everybody, really caught us off guard, and so we found ourselves having to pivot. The challenge with agriculture is that it doesn't pivot that quickly. We're thinking usually 6 to 8 months out on anything that we do. And so when that happened last year, there were still discussions about wool shows maybe still happening, or things being different, but trying to be the same. And it really messed us up. We were able to pivot okay, and still made out all right. But this year we know better. We kind of have a sense of what to plan for, and so for us, we're still milling and we're still making yarn and whatnot, but we're thinking about our local customers as well, whereas before we maybe weren't. So we're focused on our neighborhood and making sure that we've got things that if you're not, if you're into yarn but you're not into yarn, we have things for you at the store. Yeah.
Terrific. One of the questions I ask all of our interviewees is, when you're in the fiber world and you meet a lot of people, you meet a lot of interesting characters. Some have influence on you, some don't. But I always want to know name a fiber hero and why. And it could be, I guess, and that could, because you're farmers, you can look at any aspect of it.
So one for me is Ute Zell, I think is her name, at Freelton Fibre Mill, just in Freelton.
Yes.
Ute is, she's I think one of the first mills we brought some wool to, and like I was saying about Dawn, Ute is the real deal. This is the cool thing about agriculture, is that you get to meet these characters that just blow you away, and Ute is one of those where her farm is kind of like tucked out of the way. She doesn't put herself in the spotlight very often, but if you get an opportunity to meet her, she will just it's master apprentice. Like, she will just dump so much fiber knowledge on you. And
she was the one that we went to see her with a batch of wool, and she was like, you need a combing machine. This is the problem that you guys have, and this is what needs to be done. And she was the one that told us that we needed to go and find this processing solution. So that was awesome. But just even being around her, she's just a super cool woman. And I want to be like Ute one day. She just... Her place is so awesome. She has this potbelly pig that she leaves the front door open for, and it comes in and out of her house. And I literally was like, I want that in my life. And so I went and got a potbelly pig, and mine is not as cool as hers. So she's got this really awesome place, and you don't know what it is. And then you go down there, and it's just, and she's always been so generous with her knowledge for us. And she's been a really good asset for us, and we love her. So yeah, she would definitely be way up there.
Coming from the programming world, I'm used to a lot of collaboration. So whenever I build something in software, I can ask around and lean on other programmers for advice and expertise. I was a little disappointed to see in agriculture, it's not like that. It's not as open. So a lot of farmers, when they learn something, it becomes a bit of a trade secret. And so they'll give you half of what you need to know, or a roundabout bit of guidance on something. And
they like to criticize without offering a lot of solutions too.
Well, I need all the guidance I can get, so I ask a lot of farmers a lot of questions. And Ute was probably one of the few that she will just she will happily share her knowledge with you. And for us, that was a pivotal moment, talking with her on our milling journey, just all the details about Fibre. And she even, like, I remember her setting up on her kitchen table a like hackle and combs, and she showed us, she just took time out of her afternoon to like show us the combing process by hand, and what the machine would really be doing, and to really look at the fiber. It was fantastic. Like Tara said, I'm not a knitter. Grandma taught me to knit, and I can make you a spotty scarf in like a year. And so I know enough to be dangerous about wool and knitting, and Ute helped fill some of the gaps for this sheep farmer on what makes a good fiber, and what sort of characteristics we were looking for. So that was, definitely talk to Ute.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
And it's interesting because we like to think and being part of the fiber world, which we're not a part of the agricultural aspect of it. And so but we do know when we go to these festivals and we meet people like yourselves, and it is a collaboration. And it does seem that in the fiber world, everybody, cares about the same thing. And it's the camaraderie of meeting these people again and again. And it's only once a year at specific festivals. They are all there to help. Everybody is sort of that community, that community, I think, of artists and fiberists and sheep farmers do sort of stick together and do block together and help each other. I really think so, right?
Yes. Oh, 100%. I mean, I've had other vendors that I run into regularly at shows, like help me break change and get me coffees, like just surprise me with a coffee. And, we help load and unload other folks, and they help us. And it's fantastic. And
we look forward to seeing them for the most part. Like we would look forward to it all year. We're like, we get to see them. And so this year was really sad not being able to see all their faces. It's not the same without getting to have like our little reunions for the shows.
Yep. Well, we look forward to, if we make our way back to Woodstock one day, and also come by, and we need to see your farm. We talked about that on a prior episode where
we're committed now.
We are going. We're going. We're going. I was like, okay, what's happening this weekend? Like, okay, wait, when's that shearing happening between May 1st and 8th? Like, I wonder, oh wait, there's restrictions. What's the essential service? I got to see my baby sheep. Like, what? Before they get sheared. They're going to be going through so much stress, right? Anyway, I lost my train of thought.
Well, I'm sure it was really important. So for people who can't show up at your farm and make it to your stand, how do people find you on social media?
So we're on Instagram, and then of course Instagram feeds all of the other Facebooks and Twitter and that sort of thing. But Instagram's kind of our primary social media platform, whatever you want to call it. And then we're at thegaynorhomestead.com. We post a lot of things there, and of course you can get updates on the farm store there. And if you want to grab some stuff online, we've got an online store there that you can grab a lot of things. I will say, if you're interested in wholesale opportunities, you can find out about that on the website. So if you're an indie dyer, or I've seen people do is pool their orders. So shipping can kind of be expensive for a small business like ours. We don't get preferred rates on shipping, that type of thing. I've seen people like pool their orders together to save on shipping. It's a good thing. So you can do that on the website, and just
great. Well, it's been so great. I've been looking forward to this interview for so long. So just wanted to thank you for spending time with us and allowing us to interview you. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you for having us.
No, it's awesome. No, we appreciate the spotlight. It's been, we've been kind of isolated over here.
We're still here, guys.
It's getting to the point where like the conversations with the animals are getting kind of long, and like it's more than just good morning now because we're like super isolated.
Yeah.
So no, it's good to talk. Good to talk wool and yarn with like-minded folks, for sure.
We miss it, for sure.
Yeah.
We miss talking yarn.
I had so much fun in that interview. It was great.
Oh my gosh, they are wonderful people
and sweet.
I mean, seriously, how many more aspects could they add to their portfolio of what they do on the homestead?
I know, it's incredible.
They raise the sheep. They have chickens.
Potbelly pigs.
Potbelly pigs.
Other pigs.
They have 4 children.
Yes.
And
chickens.
We said chickens, I thought.
Oh, did you? Well, I've got chickens on my mind.
You do, because we're thinking about it, and we might learn from them. But, no, one thing that Tara mentioned towards the very end, she was going to add, she's thinking about doing some natural dye.
Oh, that's right.
Of their fantastic
How could I forget that?
wool. Yeah, I
absolutely.
know. Right.
Yeah, so
you dye wool. She wants to dye wool. Because they don't have enough time in the day, you know.
Yes.
They don't have enough space to fill in their day or time. You know what I'm trying to say. But they're going to add another component to what it is they do.
So here's the deal. So I'm Tara, I'm happy to go over to your place and dye yarn with you and show you natural dyeing.
There you go.
As I say that, I'm thinking maybe you want to break, and you're more than welcome to come to our place as well. Brendan, you're invited as well. And so are all your kids.
Yeah, and they could let us know what we need to do for that maybe chicken coop we have in mind.
Oh, that's right. Well, why don't we time it when we're building the chicken coop?
Chicken coop.
And then Brendan can give us pointers on
exchange ideas.
Yeah. So I had a great time. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, please let us know. We always love reading your comments.
And definitely look them up because they have some fantastic products, byproducts of the bees. They have soaps. They have lip balm. They have vapor rub.
They have yarn. Their yarn's amazing.
They have produce. They have, what do they say they're going to have? Like they've just expanded their produce at their on-site store.
Yeah.
Which there will be social
Which we definitely have to check
out. They will have some amazing fresh produce. Great place to be, and it's just outside of Dorchester near Ingersoll, Ontario.
Yes, and the online store is pretty amazing too. Brandon did a great job with the website. So again, hope you enjoyed it, and check them out, and leave us some comments as well.
And thank you, Tara, and thank you, Brendan.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.